This is the kind of victory that changes the way people talk about a golfer. Because sometimes winning a major championship is enough to silence the doubters. But other times, no matter how impressive the performance is, the criticism just refuses to disappear. And that is exactly what happened after Wyndham Clark captured his second US Open title. You would think lifting one of golf's biggest trophies again would finally end the debates. Instead, it seemed to create even more conversation. Some fans praised him as one of the toughest competitors on the PGA Tour. Others questioned everything from his attitude to the way he carries himself under pressure. But what really caught everyone's attention was not the trophy ceremony. It was what Wyndham Clark had to say after everything settled down. Because instead of ignoring the criticism or pretending it never existed, he decided to respond directly, calmly, honestly, and in a way that has suddenly changed the conversation around him. You could feel that something shifted, not just because he won another major, but because this finally felt like the moment where Clark wanted people to understand who he really is beyond the headlines. Before we get into everything he said, if you love following the biggest stories from around the PGA Tour, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to PGA Tour today. This channel is for golf fans who want more than just scores. We cover the stories, the rivalries, and everything happening behind the leaderboard. Now, coming into this US Open, Wyndham Clark already knew people were watching him differently. Winning one major can sometimes be explained away as a perfect week, but winning a second? That changes your place in professional golf forever. Every shot suddenly carries more pressure. Every interview gets analyzed. Every mistake becomes bigger, and every victory means even more. Clark embraced that challenge from the very beginning of the week. The course demanded patience. Conditions were difficult. Players who normally looked unbeatable struggled to keep momentum, but throughout the tournament, Clark looked composed. He never seemed rushed. He never appeared overwhelmed. Even when other contenders started making mistakes, Clark stayed focused on his own game. That consistency slowly separated him from the field. By Sunday afternoon, everyone watching could sense what was happening. This was no longer just another player having a good week. This looked like someone completely in control of one of golf's toughest championships. His approach shots were precise. His putting remained confident. Most importantly, every difficult situation seemed to make him even calmer. That is what great champions often do. They make incredibly difficult golf look surprisingly simple. When the final putt dropped, Clark had officially secured his second US Open championship. It should have been a celebration without distractions. Instead, the discussion quickly shifted somewhere else, because almost immediately, social media filled with familiar criticism. Some people claimed he was too emotional. Others argued he still had not earned the same respect as players like Scottie Scheffler or Rory McIlroy. There were even fans saying they simply did not enjoy watching him win. And honestly, that is probably one of the strangest things about professional sports today. Sometimes winning creates just as many critics as supporters. Clark could have ignored all of it. Many athletes do. Instead, during his post-tournament media session, he chose a different path. He acknowledged that he hears the criticism. He admitted he knows people have opinions about him, but then he said something that immediately stood out. He explained that he cannot spend his career trying to satisfy everyone. His responsibility is to compete, to improve, to prepare every single week, and to represent himself honestly, whether people cheer for him or not. That answer felt incredibly mature. There was no anger, no sarcasm, no attempt to attack anyone. It simply sounded like someone who has learned that outside opinions will always exist. And honestly, you can understand why he feels that way. The pressure of winning one US Open is enormous. Winning two places you into an entirely different category. Suddenly, expectations become permanent. People stop asking whether you belong. Instead, they expect excellence every single tournament. That is not easy for anyone, especially in today's PGA Tour. Week after week, the competition keeps getting stronger. Scottie Scheffler continues setting the standard. Rory McIlroy remains one of the biggest names in the sport. Young stars continue emerging every season. There is almost no room for mistakes. That is why Clark's performance this week mattered so much. It was not simply another victory. It felt like proof. Proof that his first major championship was not luck. Proof that he belongs among golf's elite players. And perhaps most importantly, proof that he can handle the biggest moments when everything is on the line. One reporter even asked whether the criticism motivates him. Clark smiled before answering. He admitted that every athlete notices what people say. Of course they do. Nobody completely ignores public opinion, but he also explained that motivation has to come from within. If your confidence depends entirely on what strangers think, it will disappear the first time things go badly. That might have been one of the smartest answers he gave all week. because confidence in professional golf is incredibly fragile. One great week does not guarantee another. One missed cut can suddenly change the narrative. Players understand that better than anyone. Clark seems to understand it too. What also impressed many fans was the way other players reacted after his victory. Several competitors congratulated him. Many praised the quality of his golf throughout the week. Even players who had been battling him for the championship acknowledged how complete his performance looked. That respect matters. Professional golfers understand just how difficult it is to win a US Open. Doing it twice earns attention throughout the locker room. But perhaps the biggest question now is what happens next. Because winning another major naturally changes expectations heading into the rest of the season. Fans are no longer asking whether Wyndham Clark can compete. Now they are asking how many more majors he might win. Could this become the beginning of an even bigger run? Could he challenge for Player of the Year? Could he become one of the defining golfers of this generation? Those questions suddenly feel much more realistic than they did just a few months ago. And that is exactly why his response to the criticism mattered. Instead of allowing outside noise to become the story, he shifted the focus back where he wanted it, on golf, on preparation, on competing. That mindset often separates good players from great champions, because eventually, every elite athlete faces criticism. Tiger Woods did. Rory McIlroy did. Scottie Scheffler certainly has. The public always has opinions. The challenge is learning how to perform anyway. Clark appears to be figuring that out. As major season continues, every tournament will now carry additional attention. Every leaderboard featuring Wyndham Clark will feel different. Fans will watch his body language. The media will continue asking difficult questions. Critics will probably continue offering their opinions. But after hearing him speak following this victory, one thing became very clear. He is no longer trying to convince everyone to like him. He simply wants his golf to speak louder than the criticism. And honestly, after winning a second US Open, it is becoming much harder for anyone to question his ability. That does not mean everyone will suddenly become a fan. Sports rarely work that way. Some athletes naturally divide opinion. Sometimes that even makes the competition more interesting, because whether people support Clark or root against him, they are paying attention. Every major championship needs players who create emotion, players who make fans care, players who spark conversations long after the final putt drops. Right now, Wyndham Clark has become one of those players. And heading into the next stretch of the PGA Tour season, there may not be a more fascinating storyline to follow. Can he build on this momentum? Can he continue proving his critics wrong? Or will the pressure of being a two-time US Open champion create even bigger challenges moving forward? Those are the questions everyone will be watching, and honestly, that is what makes golf so compelling. One incredible week can completely change a career. One honest interview can completely change public perception. And one major championship can reshape the entire season. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think Wyndham Clark handled the criticism the right way? Or do you believe his critics still have a point? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the biggest stories from around the PGA Tour. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.